Hi there, my name is Abigail Morrison, and this is my Module 1 Introduction to Class EDL 850 or School Law. Moving forward, just a little bit about myself, some personal demographics. My hometown is Albert, Kansas, population about 90 to 100 people. But I currently live in Hoisington, Kansas with my family, my husband Shane, my son Cal, who is a fiery redhead, and is obsessed with Monster Jam, Paw Patrol, and the rest of it, just like the rest of the kids right now. Your typical boy. But then we have a dog named Buckwheat, which happens to be his best friend. So a little bit about my education. I graduated from Fort Hays State University many years ago, and I did play softball for the university, so Roll Tigers. I know they're kicking off their season here recently. And then I currently teach as a kindergarten teacher at Jefferson Elementary in Great Bend, Kansas. I have been there for 6 years. And I also coach for the high school. I coached high school softball for 6 years. And then I am currently still coaching volleyball as an assistant. So lots of different titles within the district. Fun fact, moving forward with a little bit more of the module, there are 3 levels of government control in public education. Those 3 levels are federal, state, and local. Looking a little bit deeper into these levels with the supports that we receive from each one as a district. The federal, it makes up roughly 8% of the school's budget. It also ensures civil rights are protected, so equality for all kids. Some examples of this are the Brown v. Board of Education. We have all heard of this. And really that over entails is separate but equal is not truly equal. And then, of course, the federal deals with the IDA and FAPE for students with disabilities, and then the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. The federal level does provide national research and development for educational programs. Sometimes the federal level will drop down programs within the districts, and we hear about some of those. Oftentimes those deal with reading and math. And there is more, that's just what we normally see within the elementary school. And then state level, this is where we come up with our educational standards, our Common Core. The state level makes up then less than half of the school's operating costs. And at the state level, it really deals with the training and accreditations of the schools and the trainings with the teachers and making them the best we can. And then with the state level, it also deals with our credentials, our licensures, and what we need to have in order to meet the state requirements to be a teacher. And then with the local, most of us are governed, or pretty much all of us, are governed by our local school boards. The local level deals with the hiring, the school curriculum, the contracts for personnel throughout the district, and then the resources for functioning of the school on a daily basis. So as we look at this, we see these 3 levels, but who is in charge? Who is making these decisions? So at a local level, we have our school board. These are elected or appointed officials. This is not a paid position, this is a volunteer position. They deal with the funding and the budgeting of the district, the hiring, also when it comes to the retirement of teachers within the district, that also goes through the board. And then with the school curriculum, currently I am on a math curriculum. So we will have to present to the Board of Education on what curriculum we feel best is for the students at an elementary level. So they will approve or deny that. And then they also decide when schools should close, consolidate, or maybe be reconstructed. So the school board has a pretty broad job within a district, but it is also a very important one. They do have quite a bit of power. And then next we have our superintendent. The superintendent is a paid position. It is a very powerful position, but a high stress position as well. So the superintendent does and will interact with the hiring of school personnel within all district buildings, the funding and the budgeting of the overall district. And then the superintendent is really they get that CEO, the head title of all district buildings. So definitely someone who doesn't mind high stress and is very good at decision making. And then at the state level, we have our state legislation, and then of course the Kansas Department of Education. And this level, they set the standards for the teachers, they set the standards for the students. They do deal with the licensure of the school personnel. What is it going to take to gain a teacher certification within the state of Kansas? What requirements need to be met? And then the supports and guidance for local school boards. So they help kind of guide the way for the school boards at local levels to make sure that the right decisions are being made and which route to take, especially here recently with all the COVID requirements and the changes being made. School boards had a pretty big job ahead of them the last couple of years. So then it deals with the school funding as well. And then with the state, it is paid. It is a paid position, but it is minimal or general power overall. And then who is in charge at the federal level? We do have the Secretary of Education and the Department of Education. The funding percent really is about around 8%. That is reaching down to the local level. The federal side does enforce many laws. For instance, the IDEA and to deal with special education students, the FERPA and the No Child Left Behind, that is to deal with our testing, that we ensure that the kids are getting, they're gaining as much information and retaining it as much as we can. We see that growth. And then Every Student Succeeds Act, excuse me. With the federal level, we have equal rights for all, and then minimal power within the districts, but these that are at the federal level, these are paid positions. So the greatest influence, we look at our three components we have. Component 1, evaluate, develop, and implement management, communication technologies, school level governance, and operation systems that support each student's learning needs and promote the mission and vision of the school. I personally put that under the local level, especially when it says that they support each student's learning needs. That to me shows that they are working one-on-one with those students. And then component 6.2, evaluate, develop, and advocate for data-informed and equitable resourcing plan that supports school improvement and student development. So overall, I put that under the state level. And then component 6.3, you effectively evaluate, communicate about, and implement laws, rights, policies, regulations to promote student and adult success. When you start talking about implementing laws and rights and policies, that to me goes straight to the federal level. So all three of those have a different role, but all three of those also fit each standard. So as we do this, we look at the order of support for success. At the federal level, enforcement of federal laws to protect students and adults to equal educational opportunities. Everyone is treated fairly. They all have the same opportunities ahead of them. And then the federal side, they support the schools with funding from federal tax dollars in correlation with federal programs. These programs are often deemed that they are the important and they are in the student's best interest for student success. The federal level is removed from the individual success of each student personally, but they oversee and they try to support as much as they can. So then when we go to the state side, there's some involvement with student success, but there's more than federal level. And the state side really gears down on the rules and regulations. They work with the school boards. With those rules and regulations, we work on the licensing for teachers. What is it going to take to be an accredited teacher, an accredited school? And then they really reach out to the standards for the teachers to teach, the teachers to meet, to ensure that those students are getting the best learning they possibly can. And then at the local end of this, the most support, this is the area where the student success is worked with one-on-one the most. The local has the most impact with the districts, but they are also making decisions at the district level for student success. They are seeing what their students need. They are being able to take their students into consideration on a personal basis as well. So at the local sides, they get to determine what are students needing to be successful. They have that with the curriculum. They have the chance to better their students and see it personally. So then here's my correlations. My CLL correlation, this assignment correlated directly with the 3 standards by presenting me with resources that expanded my knowledge on the 3 levels of government and their involvement within school districts and the education system. These resources allowed me to look at the involvement at each level of government and the responsibilities each level holds. Each of these standards align directly with the different levels of government discussed in this module. My relevancy statement. This assignment was relevant to my learning because as a future leader, I need to understand the levels of government and their roles, responsibilities within education. The funding aspect often arises, and as an administrator, it is valuable knowledge to know where funding comes from. What I learned the most from this assignment is that the federal and state levels provide the laws and regulations, but the local level is where the decisions geared towards students and staff are made. When it comes to my personal reflection, while completing this assignment, it was confidence building, knowing that I already knew some of the information that was being presented to us. When it comes to my current teaching, I am currently on a curriculum board and piloting new material for the district. This is math material, and thinking about this, I always imagined that it was a state level reason why us as a district changed every 7 years, but this assignment taught me that it is a local level decision, and they really gear that towards the student success. Is the curriculum we are teaching still up to date, still what's best for the students? And as a future leader, this assignment taught me to look at what level of government changes are coming down from. There are times when funding changes or curriculum changes occur, and when it comes to asking questions, it's good to know at which level are these questions going to get answered, because sometimes it is above the local level. There's not much we can do. It's happening above us. So overall, this assignment taught me a lot, and it really opened my eyes to the impact at which each level has on our education system. And then here are my references for this module. Thank you guys so much for listening.